Once more, extending my gratitude and welcoming each one of you to Bhagavad Gita for Adults 7 p.m. English class. I am Praveena and I am being blessed with the blessings of my Guruji, Aishwarya Mataji, to take this class from today for the next 18 days. And I hope I will do justice by just saying everything that the Guru has spoken and nothing less or more. So we are going to understand the Bhagavad Gita in the next 18 days, and this course is come from the ISKCON Radha Govinda Temple of Mangalore. And so let's pay our humble and respectful obeisances to the beautiful deities of the ISKCON Mangalore Temple, which is located in Mangalore. It is a Sri Radha Govinda Temple from the Coconut Garden Road, Toll Gate, Kadar, Mangalore, Karnataka. And the temple president, His Grace Namnishta Das Prabhu, he's a BTech in from IIT Kanpur, and he is the temple president. And we are extremely blessed that he has provided this opportunity for so many of us to understand the Bhagavad Gita completely free. And this 1 hour that we give for 18 days actually really transforms our life, like how so many people say the Bhagavad Gita is like priceless, and you're all, I feel fortunate. You have Krishna's blessings to have this chance to come and communicate and understand the Gita. Together, we will make this, journey. And once more, here is a beautiful, the beautiful deities of the Radha Govinda temple. Let's take the blessings of these deities, and let me pray to Guru before we start. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarane. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद. And this is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this class that we are attending today is based on the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is a founder Acharya of ISKCON. So many of us don't know him. I didn't actually, frankly, know him at the beginning when I joined about 3 years ago. It was, I knew about ISKCON, but I didn't know about Srila Prabhupada. That is because he is extremely humble and he always puts Krishna in front. And his only purpose in life was to spread the message of the Bhagavad Gita, which we are all going to study together in the next 18 days. And we need to know a little about Prabhupada because he is unbelievable. As I come to know about him and read more about him, my heart fills with so much of gratitude, because we are able to understand our scriptures only because of the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who has translated these scriptures into English and thereafter into so many languages. His translation has been translated to so many languages across the world. People are understanding the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. And it's all thanks to Srila Prabhupada. As you can see him in this picture. He is a highly elevated devotee because he was not born into some ordinary family. Srila Prabhupada, as you can see in the first picture, he is a small boy there in the center. And he was born in already a family of great transcendentalists. The word transcendental means spiritual. So he was born in a family who were already very highly religious, and they were all very, elevated. And so from his very childhood, he was very interested in deity worship. And you can see at the age of 5 years, his father granted him the permission on his request to take a Ratha Yatra. And thereafter, as he grew up, he was able to, he is a person in charge of bringing about Ratha Yatras all over the world. Even in the Western world and countries like Russia or Middle East, everywhere we have Ratha Yatras going on now, all thanks to Srila Prabhupada. And although many of you may not know, as you will gradually know, you will, get to respect him. You might initially feel that why are we talking so much about Srila Prabhupada when this class is about Bhagavad Gita? But as you will learn, slowly understand, you will feel that gratitude, because he was a great person who has brought the Gita to the whole world, and he is one who brought Krishna to everyone and made them understand what the Gita is really about. So you can see in the second picture here, this is his guru, and the only reason why he set out on the journey to the Western world to teach the Bhagavad Gita is because his guru told him to do so. And the guru's word is like final. And he tried in India, as you can see in the third picture, he did try in India to propagate the Bhagavad Gita. But what happens is in India, the people are generally already having a vision or an understanding. Okay, Krishna is this, and I know Krishna, I know. And they already have so many things in their mind that they're not ready to really see what the scriptures are actually saying. And so it was easier for Srila Prabhupada to propagate the knowledge in the Gita in the Western world, because they are a clean slate and they would really understand and grasp the real meaning of the scriptures, which many people over the generations do keep on twisting and turning to their own convenience. And so the Bhagavad Gita in the true message was brought by Srila Prabhupada, and he started this magazine, Back to Godhead, and he tried his best in India, but it didn't work as well. And then he finally realized that he needs to listen to his guru, and propagate this knowledge in the Western world. And then he takes a ship. He takes a cargo ship and which the name of the cargo ship was Jaladuta, and not even a passenger ship. So he goes about in that cargo ship, and in the year 1965, he was nearly 70 years old when he did that journey. He was 69, and on the way, he had 2 heart attacks. In spite of that, he continued on his journey, and he actually did not even have any money, neither any relatives nor friends. Just because of the faith and the words of his guru and faith in Krishna, that Krishna is the one sending him to propagate Krishna's message to the world. And so he just set out. And what did he do after reaching New York? There were a lot of hippies there. He turned all the hippies to happies, as they all learned from him. He would just sit in the parks of New York and he would just chant the very powerful Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which we just said a while ago. And he would get people to feel the power of the mantra, and gradually he would teach them about the Gita and the Bhagavatam, and he got disciples slowly all over the world. You can see in this next slide, you can see how he has written so many books. You can see his Back to Godhead magazine. He's written about 70 books. And let me see if I can play this video. This is a short video about his journey across. Can you hear me? Can you hear it? Can you hear, or should I share with the sound? Can you hear the music?
Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
All right.
Yes.
So we can see in the short period of about 11 years, he circled around the globe 14 times, and he's a founder Acharya of the ISKCON temple. And I would like to share with all of you that understanding and opportunity to understand the Bhagavad Gita is not ordinary. Each one of you here who have come together to listen to the Bhagavad Gita are extremely blessed by Krishna. Even one class you attend, the little spiritual knowledge you gain is of great value. And without Krishna's blessings, we can never get, without, the Lord's blessings, it's not possible for us to get spiritual knowledge. So that's why it is mentioned here that the Bhagavad Gita is an epic scripture that has the answers to all our problems. So who here doesn't have problem? Some people may, think that, oh, I have all the money, I have a beautiful wife or a husband, I have children, and everything is fine, and I'm very happy. But really, in this material world, there is no possibility of being, away from problems, because there are always, with us, there will come disease, old age, death, and all sorts of problems in the material world. And this Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual dictionary. Mahatma Gandhi has said that it's a book of inspiration for many leaders across the planet. He has said that those who meditate on the Gita. So actually, see, I have been attending this Bhagavad Gita level 1 and then level 2, and now I'm a Bhakti Shastri student. Ever since COVID began, like almost 2020, and now it is 3 years. And every time I listen to a class or I talk about the Gita, I feel that I'm getting something new. And I really believe that what Gandhi said is so true, that as you meditate on the Gita, every time you will derive fresh joy and you will get new meanings every day. And even Albert Einstein has said that when I read the Bhagavad Gita and reflect about how God created this universe, everything else seems so superfluous. And that's how, ultimately Bhagavad Gita will transform your life, as you will see a whole new meaning. So why should we read the ISKCON Bhagavad Gita? Why should we read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita? So you can just imagine a phone, if a mobile phone get damaged and you want to charge it, you can't charge it with a broken cable, or you can't just connect it anywhere. You need to connect it properly, and you need to have a proper cable. It has to be connected properly. It cannot be used for proper data transfer if you use a broken cable. This is because of lack of contact from the original source and the receiver. So the Bhagavad Gita is actually Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad from Bhagavan and Gita from song. This is actually the song of the Lord himself. The Lord himself is giving us. It's Bhagavad Gita. The Lord is giving us this song or this poem or this message. And it has to come in the unbroken chain of disciplinic succession. Only if that cable is unbroken. That means, from the beginning, Krishna is giving the message to Brahma to Narada, and so on. It gets passed on. And that disciplinic succession is clearly there in this Prabhupada's line, which we are following, the Gauriya Madhava, the Gauriya, we are the Gauriya group. There's also a Shri, there's also the Kumara, and there's also the Rudra. So there are 4 main, universities. Suppose you want to be a doctor, you can't just simply say, oh, I'm just reading the different medical books and I am now a doctor. You need to study from a university. It has to be properly done. Only then you can be, called a proper doctor. Similarly, if you want to understand the spiritual knowledge, you need to get it from a proper disciplinic succession, which is very, very important. Otherwise, if you listen to the Bhagavad Gita from different people who will just put their own meaning, they will try to say, oh, they're going to put all, a totally wrong or totally misguided understanding of the Bhagavad Gita. They use your own intelligence, but spiritual knowledge is not like material knowledge. It's not, you cannot understand it through your material senses. You need a real spiritual master who is a devotee of the Lord, who can really understand and give us this knowledge. Only then we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, it's really not possible. So here in this slide, what we are seeing is that the Gita is a vast book. It's a systematic study, and therefore it actually will take a year or more. In 18 days, we can't study the whole Gita thoroughly. Therefore, we are basically in this 18 days class, each day doing one chapter. We're only going to focus on the flow of thoughts happening between Krishna and Arjuna. And I request you all to just keep pondering over it and meditating over whatever we discuss for every chapter. The idea is that it will prepare you for a deeper study of the Gita. Once you finish this level 1, you can always do level 1 again from other different classes or timings or teachers or the same. And you can then move on to level 2, for which you need to answer quizzes. So in this group, the WhatsApp group from where you got this link, there will be quiz links also posted. I request you all to do the daily quiz. The quiz, if you attempt, then you can later on move on to level 2, where the Gita will be understood in a much more deeper level. And then you can move on to level 3, and you can move on if you're not interested in a scholarly study of the Bhagavad Gita. There's another alternate course offered by the ISKCON Mangalore under the guidance of Srila Prabhu, which is called the Bhakti Sadachar. So you can either take up the line of the deeper study or the very scholarly study in which you go with the quizzes and everything, or you can still continue. So after 18 days, please continue and moving on to the level 2, whichever it is, Sadachar or Bhakti Shastri line. So before we go further, let's look at when was Bhagavad Gita spoken. So Lord Krishna explained this system of yoga to the sun god about 12 million years ago. But in due course of time, the science as it appears was lost. Krishna again told the same science to Arjuna in the battlefield of Mahabharata approximately 5,000 years ago. So as soon as Kali Yuga is beginning, Krishna knew that people need this knowledge, the spiritual knowledge. And otherwise, they're going to simply lead the lives of cats and dogs and animals. They won't really understand the true questions. Why we're having this human body? What is the purpose of this life? What is the human body actually for? We understand that only when you read the Gita, which is a manual for human life. And what are the main topics discussed in this Bhagavad Gita? It is Ishvara. You understand that, who is God actually? What is the supreme personality of Godhead? You understand about the Jiva in great detail. What is the soul within the body? What is its nature? You come to know about Prakriti or nature. This is very beautiful. As you go every chapter, you understand these things so nicely. In my life, all my questions appear to be answered after really reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and attending the classes. So Prakriti is nature, and we will learn later how the nature has got 3 modes. And karma, about action, we will learn a lot about karma, about the types of karma, vikarma, akarma, and all that. And we will also learn more in detail about what is kala, which is time. Krishna says kalosmi. So Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Krishna himself, is Vedic wisdom which is passed by oral reception. It has to come through, the reception through the saints, like I told you. And until it was written by Srila Vyasadeva, who was empowered by Sri Krishna himself more than 5,000 years ago. That is how the Gita came. So Bhagavad Gita, like must be knowing definitely, there are 18 chapters. That's how we are doing one chapter each day. It is a jewel of the epic Mahabharata. And the Bhagavad Gita, like I said a while ago, is a song of the god. It's a dialogue between the god himself, which is Lord Krishna, and his friend, the Pandava prince Arjuna. And this happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's a dialogue about life, about living, relationships, about duties, habits, and many more. And we are going to be doing all this. Today, we will be discussing chapter 1. I've just given you a brief introduction about Srila Prabhupada, which was really important. Before we begin, we need to pay obeisances to our spiritual masters. And we are going to now move on to the chapter of Arjuna's dejection or Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So the mood of the Bhagavad Gita is actually, you may feel that, okay, this is written so many years ago. Why is it relevant to me? But actually problems and the kind of bewilderment or the kind of emotions that Arjuna went through, we all go through this kind of emotion every now and then. We are filled with confusion, whether should we do this? Is it right for me to do? And when we look back, we constantly feel, did I do that right? So this kind of bewilderment happens to all of us. So the mood of the Bhagavad Gita when it begins is also is that of Arjuna's bewilderment. And there is an illusion which it must be understood that this is Krishna's arrangement. Why is it Krishna's arrangement? Krishna has arranged in such a way that Arjuna feels his bewilderment so that he gives the message of the Bhagavad Gita, and so that we can get this beautiful spiritual message without which actually we don't move forward. Only when we understand the Bhagavad Gita, we start living our life, the true purpose of our life. So if not for Arjuna's confusion and bewilderment, there would be no necessity for Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita. And that is the whole reason why Arjuna felt this. So Arjuna is apparently the first listener of Bhagavad Gita, but actually it's not only for Arjuna. The Bhagavad Gita is for everyone. Arjuna's indecisiveness is how the whole Gita begins. So what happens is, many of you must be already knowing, but I'm not going to go into great details. Like there are basically 2 brothers, that is Dhritarashtra and Pandu. The Dhritarashtra's sons are the 100 Kauravas, and the Pandu's sons are the 5 Pandavas. The kingdom was supposed to be ruled by Pandu, but since he died early, Dhritarashtra, although he is the elder one, he was blind, and in those days the rule was that person who is physically handicapped cannot rule. But he was just taking care temporarily till the Pandu's sons would grow up and be able to take over. There was, of course, Bhishma, who was a grandsire who could rule, but he had taken a vow. Bhishma had taken a vow not to rule. That is the reason why Dhritarashtra was ruling. So, in all, some of you who don't know at all may get very confused, but I want to just tell you that this war is happening between two sets of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The kingdom for which they are fighting is actually belongs to the Pandavas, but because Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kauravas, was very attached to his sons, and his eldest son Duryodhana badly wanted the kingdom. He couldn't tell his son that this is not the right thing. We should actually be handing it over. He couldn't do that because he was so attached to his son, and so they were not willing to give the kingdom to the Pandavas at all, because of which the whole battle happens. And of course, Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas. There are so many stories related to this, and I will not have time to go in detail. But I hope many of you already know, and those who don't know will be motivated to always continue. It's always full of a lot of knowledge, the whole Mahabharata and how the Gita came about. So we'll just move on to the forward, because and as and when we get an opportunity, we'll quickly cover up some of the beautiful stories related. So Krishna, and during the battle, what happens is that Arjuna is asking, wants to know what is happening in the battle. Arjuna wants to see the enemies. He wanted to see who are the ones who are there, want to fight with us. I want to see everyone. And Krishna drove the chariot in the midst of both the armies, and Arjuna was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. He was surrendered unto Krishna, and that is why the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. So this is just a broad understanding of how the Bhagavad Gita was, spoken. So every journey begins with a single step, and today let's begin this journey into the mysticism of Gita. I welcome you all, and I request you to stay for 18 days. Even though in course of studying the Gita now in the remaining days, each day you might come across something which might be a little shocking. I also had a lot of shocking news because there were many things which I was not really aware of. But as you come to know, don't give up. Just stay on. Somehow, I want you all. Today we have 27 of you who are here with me. There were 31, now the 27 of you. And I request you to stay for these 18 days and just be for 1 hour listening. And I assure you that there will be lots that you will gain, although certain things you might initially find it difficult to, understand. And why is it so? Because look at this verse. It says, Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopala nandana partho vatsa sudhira bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat. It means that this Gita, all the Upanishads are like a cow. And the person who is milking the cow is the Lord Krishna himself, the son of Nanda. Arjuna is like the calf, and the beautiful nectar of Gita is the milk. And the fortunate devotees of the fine theistic intellect are the drinkers and enjoyers of that milk. So the nectar is actually all the Upanishads together. The essence of it is there in the Gita, and the Lord himself is giving us this beautiful knowledge. So at last here we begin the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Arjuna's yoga of lamentation. It's also about observing the armies of the battlefield. In this, we mainly come to know about the emotions of 3 people. The whole chapter 1, if you want to say what is the chapter 1 all about, it's just a basic introduction, and it tells us about the different reactions to the same scene. That is the beginning of the Mahabharata war. We will basically in chapter 1, we come to know about the different reactions. Down here in the corner below, we can see Duryodhana, and in the center, we can see Arjuna. And also we come to know about how Dhritarashtra is feeling. All right. So let us look at first how Dhritarashtra is feeling. In the whole Bhagavad Gita, the first verse begins with Dhritarashtra's words. And just these words, we come to know so much about Dhritarashtra. Later on, when you learn about the gunas, we will learn later on about the 3 gunas or the modes of nature, which is Tamogun, the mode of darkness, Rajogun, the mode of passion, and Sattvagun, the mode of goodness. So we will come to know how Dhritarashtra is in the mode of darkness. So here Dhritarashtra is saying, let's say this together. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakaha pandavaschaiva kima kurvata sanjaya. So look at every word. Every word tells us something about him, okay? So, for example, it is depicted, these words have been, we are looking at it in this pictorial depiction. The first one is about Dharma Kshetre. Okay, so we can see that the milk is boiling. It's an auspicious thing. So, Dharma Kshetra is basically the Kurukshetra where the war is taking place. It's a very auspicious place. Why? Because many ritualistic activities were very religious, saints of very high stature used to do their rituals there. And it was quite clear that anything that happens in that holy place, Dharma Kshetra, is certainly going to bring about auspicious results, and only Dharma will win over there. So this is a depiction, like just how we boil milk as to show a sign of auspiciousness. Similarly, the Dharma Kshetra, where the war is taking place, is a holy and auspicious place. However, what is Dhritarashtra doing? He says, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. So he says, as you can see in the previous verse, what he says is that, he says, my sons, what do my sons and Pandu's sons do? So he is actually separating his, you can see here, Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. So he's like, as if he's separating milk. Like, instead of saying that they're all Kuru children, actually they all belong to the same family. But by using those words, he is separating his sons from his brother's sons. And, it's already showing how much of discrimination he has in his mind. He's actually the king, and the king should be the person who protects dharma and what is supposed to be done. But here he is, very much attached to his own children, and he's bringing out the separation instead of doing the right thing. So that is the Mamaka Pandava is seen in this breaking of the milk. And then what happens? So how do we understand the third picture? So suppose somebody gives you a rasgulla, what will you do with it? Obviously, you will eat it. There's no need to ask, oh, I gave you rasgulla, what did you do with it? Obviously, you will eat it. So if there is a Dharma Kshetra, if there is a war going on, if the Pandavas and Kauravas are there, obviously they're there ready for the fight. There was no need to ask that question, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya, what are they doing? So here we can see in this one line, we can make out that Dhritarashtra is filled with a fear. We also come to Dhritarashtra wants the war to take place because he is, he's worried that this is Dharma Kshetra. Did for some reason, the war is prevented. Maybe my son suddenly felt, okay, let's not fight. Or maybe the Pandavas felt, okay, let's not fight. Or whatever the different reasons may happen. And they, probably if they don't fight, then he's worried what will happen. My sons will not get the kingdom, or what's going to happen. So that fear, oh, what happened? So the very fear, Kim Akurvata, shows that this is quite a meaningless question that he's asking, because obviously the rasgulla is there, it will be eaten, war is there, the battlefield, everything is ready, they're going to be fighting. So here, then next, let's look at this verse, verse 1.3. He says, oh my teacher, Duryodhana is saying, oh my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Those of you who have some knowledge about the Mahabharata will already know how political minded Duryodhana is. Every word tells us something about the person. Every time someone speaks, we come to know a lot about his character. So Duryodhana, like I told you, is in the mode of passion. Dhritarashtra is in the mode of ignorance. He is in the darkness. He just closing his eyes. He's not just blind physically. He's also blind spiritually, or he is just blinding himself. He doesn't want to see what's right or wrong. And Duryodhana, he is blinded by his passion for the kingdom, and is, he is totally blind. He is into the Rajogun. So he is, instead of showing respect, in the beginning of the war, Arjuna is seen to have put arrows at the feet of his guru Dronacharya, paying his obeisances, respectful obeisances. That was his mood. Whereas Duryodhana, he is taunting his master Dronacharya. How is he taunting? Instead of saying that the opposite army, Pandava army, is expertly arranged, he is adding by your intelligent disciple, trying to say that, oh Guru, you taught this, Drishtadyumna about the war, how to arrange you were the person who taught him, knowing that So somebody who knows the past story of this, Drishtadyumna, who is the person who arranged the Pandava army, is actually a son born to Drupada, who had taken a vow that my son will take revenge by killing the the Dronacharya. In spite of that, Dronacharya, when Drishtadyumna comes to take his to learn warfare from him, he agrees to teach him. So he's saying, your own disciple, the son of Drupada. Drupada is an enemy of Dronacharya. And your own disciple, Drupada's son, see how nicely he has arranged. So in these words, we also know about Duryodhana's fear. Duryodhana is actually afraid when he saw that army of Pandavas is so nicely arranged, and he's taunting his master. Instead of being respectful to him, he's taunting his master. So this is a political mindedness of Duryodhana. He wants to tell Duryodhana, look at his expression. Duryodhana wants to tell his master that, see, this is what you did. Now you better be careful. Be careful and take care. And he says here, soon after, now what happens is that Saghosho dhardharashtanam hridayani vyadarayat nabhascha prithvim shaiva tumulobhyanunadayan. So after his Bhishma, he blows his conch, and everybody in the Kaurava army, they make an uproarious, tumultuous sound, and the blowing of the different conches are uproarious, and it shatters the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. So after Bhishma will blow, and all of the Kaurava army will make all those different noises with their instruments, and then Krishna and Arjuna, when they blow their transcendental conch at the beginning of the war, that shatters the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Because, any evil person who's doing something wrong, in the heart of hearts, they know that what they're doing is wrong. And such moments when they hear the transcendental conch of Krishna and Arjuna and the Pandava army, their hearts are shattered. They're filled with fear. So in this slide, we can see how these are the different signs of auspiciousness. So how auspicious, the auspiciousness in the sense that it's a Dharma Kshetra. The very fact that they are fighting in a Dharma Kshetra is a proof that Dharma is going to win. And who is in Dharma's side? Pandavas. The divine chariot is given to Arjuna. The divine chariot is, here Arjuna has been blessed with a special chariot which can move in all directions. And so that is also a sign which shows that Pandavas are strong. Are they going to win? Kapi Dvaja. If you look at that orange flag on on Arjuna's chariot, Hanuman is sitting on the flag of Arjuna. And when Hanuman is sitting, there can be no defeat. Hanuman is Lord Ram's, is Lord Ram's own personal associate. And here he is there with Krishna. Krishna is also Sri Ram. And he's there accompanying the side of Dharma, and he is ready to do anything. It is said, in fact, that, every time Hanuman says that I will sit on your flag, and when the enemies come, I'm going to roar and make them, shiver. And so Kapi Dvaja, the fact that Hanuman is Lord Hanuman is there on Arjuna's flag shows that, Pandava is going to win. Already we know that that's a sign of victory. Shankhanada is a transcendental conch which the Krishna and Arjuna, when they blow itself, it shatters the heart. So that Shankhanada is not a normal conch. When before the war, when Krishna and Arjuna blow their conches, it's not a normal sound of a shank. It's a transcendental sound. Anything related to Krishna is transcendental, that is spiritual, because he's the Lord. Then the Gandiva is the bow which Arjuna has, is a Pashupatastra. It's also very special. It is given to him by the Lord himself, by Lord Shiva, and he is blessed with that special Gandiva, which is, meant to be used for this dharma, for this purpose of this. Tyakta Jivita is another very important word. If you remember, if you all have heard the shlokas in the beginning of this class, Duryodhana uses the word Tyakta Jivita. Can we take questions at the end? Prabhuji, Jai Prabhuji, we just take the questions at the end. So you please keep the question in mind. We'll come to that. And Tyakta Jivita is basically the word which is used by Duryodhana. He uses this word which is actually an ill omen. What he says is that all the people in my side of the army, they are all ready to give their lives for me. But that is something, every word that person speaks has an effect. And when Duryodhana says that everybody in my army is ready to give their lives, that means he's already kind of declaring that, they're all going to die. So that was kind of a bad premonition which he makes. And Mokshada Ekadashi, the day this happened, the war started, was Mokshada Ekadashi. Again, whenever there is Ekadashi, it's a very dear day of the Lord. In fact, tomorrow is Ekadashi, and those who come to know about the Ekadashi, they understand that it's Krishna's favorite day, and they do the fasting on Ekadashis. And why? Because Ekadashi is a day very dear to Krishna. So it was a very special day when the war had begun. And Bhagya Lakshmi, wherever Krishna is there, Lakshmi is there. So obviously auspiciousness is there. Where Lakshmi is there, there is Bhagya, there is luck, there is victory. So where Krishna is there, Lakshmi is there. Where Lakshmi is there, there is auspiciousness and victory. Finally, the most important and my favorite one is Rishikesha. So Rishikesha is because on the Pandava side, we have Krishna. Krishna's other name is Rishikesha. Rishikesh means a master of senses. Now, Krishna takes control of the senses of his devotees as much as they are surrendered to him. He is a master of all senses, but he gives all the jivas a limited liberty. But when a devotee, when he surrenders himself and all his senses to Krishna, he takes over. He takes control of all the senses, and then nothing can go wrong. So when Rishikesha, the master of senses himself, is there on the Pandava side, how can there be, there's no chance of anything but victory for the Pandavas. So here in this one, we come to know, therefore, about how the different reasons which Arjuna has spoken. In verse 1.28, Arjuna talks about how he is feeling, compassionate. There are all his relatives on the opposite side, and he can't think of fighting with everyone. His own grandsire, whom he loves so much, his guru himself is there, and so many relatives and friends are there, and he's very compassionate. He's actually in the mode of goodness. Like I told you, there are three modes. Dhritarashtra is in the mode of darkness, and Duryodhana is the mode of passion or Rajogun, and Arjuna is in the Sattvagun. And Krishna actually will teach him how to rise above the modes by the end of the Gita. We will also understand about that. And he is in a mode of goodness, and that is why he's feeling so much compassion. And he feels that there's no enjoyment, there's no enjoyment whether I win or whether I lose. If I lose also, all my half the, relatives are all gone and they're dead. What we all want to enjoy with our relatives and friends. If they're not there, how will I enjoy? And if I lose also, there's no enjoyment. So that's the reasons he's given why he doesn't want to fight. And he thinks that, there'll be sin. Obviously, when I'm killing so many people, there's sin, and I don't want to incur the sin. And then he says that family traditions will be broken down. He says that, when so many men will be killed in this battle, then the family traditions, all these different traditions of giving the food for the ancestors and so many important traditions are there, they will no longer be there, and that will lead to a lot of, disharmony in society. And then finally, in the next chapter, in the beginning, we will see how Arjuna says that how he's totally undecided. He just doesn't want to fight the war at all. So these are the 5 reasons that he's giving. And Krishna in chapter 2 is very important. He will actually explain all these 5 reasons. He will give a detailed explanation, and within one chapter, in short, he will answer all these questions, and he will explain to Arjuna why he should, these reasons are not valid and why he needs to fight. So with that, we finish today's chapter. We will come to take the doubts. Maybe after the doubt clearing, I'll come to the last verse. Mr. Prabhu, Jai Prabhu, please unmute, and could you please tell me why you have raised your hand? Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please unmute. Hare Krishna, can you unmute Jai Prabhu? Mr. Jai. There's some question that you wanted to ask. Anybody has any questions? So we have come to the end of this chapter. Anyone has any questions? Jai Prabhu, you had raised your hand. Please unmute. So we actually call each other Prabhujis and Matajis in reverence here. So, that's why I'm calling, I'm calling you with respect as Prabhuji. Jai Prabhu hasn't unmuted yet. Anybody else who has some question? And If not, we can end the class today. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. You could also put your question on the chat. I can't see any questions on the chat.
Ma'am, can you repeat that
am I audible?
Ma'am? Ma'am?
Was I audible? You could hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you just repeat the 3 gunas?
Which one?
3 modes. Like Dhritarashtra was in the modeness of dark. And what is the Sanskrit word for that? And Arjuna was in which mode? Can
you want me to
repeat
repeat the modes? Different modes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
so basically, we can see that Dhritarashtra is in the, so we will study in great detail, and especially in chapter 14, about the 3 modes of material nature. Like this is a material world, and there are 3 modes. There is a Rajogun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun. So Tamogun is called the mode of ignorance. Now, when somebody is in the Tamogun, he is totally blinded. He is like in the darkness. He is in ignorance. Dhritarashtra is, not only physically blinded, but he's also, emotionally and spiritually is blinded. He actually sees Krishna, but still he cannot, understand anything. He actually listens to the Gita from Sanjaya. Sanjaya is a person who is relating the whole, what is happening in the battlefield to Dhritarashtra, because the battle is going on, but Dhritarashtra is not in the battlefield. But how does he hear about everything happening? Because Sanjaya is saying all this to Dhritarashtra. Sanjaya has been given the blessing from his master, Vyasadeva, to be able to see what is happening in the battlefield and tell Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra hears the whole Bhagavad Gita, but still he doesn't understand its import. He doesn't understand. He is totally blinded by his attachment for his son. Instead of having affection for his son, he has attachment, and that is, it's a kind of a lust, it's a kind of an emotion where he is not able to distinguish between right and wrong. He's not able to tell his son that this is not the right thing for you to dream of, because this kingdom belongs to Pandu Putras, or the children of Pandu, that is Pandavas. He couldn't say that. So he is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, and he is, doesn't have any sense of what is right or wrong. He's totally carried away by his attachment. And so we say that he is in the Tamogun. Now, Duryodhana, he is in the Rajogun. Why is he in the Rajogun? Because he is so ambitious. He's running after the Rajogun is basically when somebody is after material things, so he just running after material pleasures, and he just wants to rule the kingdom. All he wants is to rule the kingdom, and he doesn't want to give even a needle tip of land to the Pandavas. He is so greedy. And such people who are, always running after material things and just running and running after, they lose also their sense of discrimination. Just like the, Tamogun people, they lose their sense of discrimination because of their, greed. They're running after something in the material world all the time. So that is why Duryodhana is in the Rajogun. And when we will study in chapter 14 as we go, it's mentioned now and then, but in chapter 14 in great detail, we will understand what are the symptoms of somebody who is mainly in the Rajogun. Then we come to know that Arjuna is in the Sattvagun. Now, Sattvagun is also called the mode of goodness. Now, people in the mode of goodness, they are always, good. They always want to do good. They are not bothered about getting a lot of material gains. They just want to do what is right. They want to do what is good. And they get a lot of punya. And they actually, all these 3 modes are actually binding. This is something which we will gradually understand from Bhagavad Gita. Whether somebody is in the mode of darkness or passion or goodness. In fact, each one of us doesn't have only one. It's not like how we are now clearly demarcating that he is in Rajogun, Tamogun, Sattvagun. Most of us have all, in fact, all of us have all 3. Everyone has all 3 in them. But what is dominating? Sattvagun dominating in somebody will be mainly, person who is good, who is very simple, who is happy. But what happens to him also is that he also is conditioned by that sense of happiness and knowledge. He has knowledge. He's very happy. He's doing all the good things. And he is also getting bound to this material world. So later on, we will see how these three modes, are actually, they are material nature. They're three modes of material nature, and they're all binding us to this material world. Now, Bhagavad Gita, actually this should come in the later chapters, teaches us how there is something beyond these three modes. And Krishna will slowly explain to Arjuna and tell him how he should try to rise above Sattva Gun also. There's something called Shuddha Sattva Gun, where you offer, Krishna will tell us later, how you should offer all the results of your work and everything to Krishna, and how then you will not be bound by the results of your karma, good or bad. You'll be able to rise above all these material, the material results and actions, and you'll be able to reach the spiritual world, which is a very beautiful knowledge which we get from the Bhagavad Gita. So I actually have explained more. I hope I have answered your question, because I got carried away and I kept on talking. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am, very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Brinda Mataji, for asking that question. Please ask questions, anything. Yeah, there's hi, Mataji. Preeti Mataji, could you please tell what is transcendental conch, and what, on hearing the sound, Kauravas are shivering. Why? Yes, Mataji. So, Preeti Mataji, transcendental basically means spiritual. So, we will come to know as we go further that Krishna is, the Lord himself. His body is not material like ours. It is, it's completely spiritual. Krishna is spiritual. He is not ordinary material. Many, people who are reading the Gita, they interpret it wrongly. They say, oh, Krishna was just some yogi who had some power, which is a totally wrong interpretation. Please avoid listening to such interpretations. This Bhagavad Gita can be understood only with the primary understanding that Krishna is the Lord himself, and he is giving us his knowledge. Now, anything related to Krishna is transcendental. Arjuna is a very special personal devotee. He's actually Nar Narayan. Those who will know a lot more about the scriptures in detail would know that Nar and Narayan are actually Krishna's expansion only is Arjuna. So Nar and Narayan are both expansions of the Lord himself. So Arjuna also is, although not like Krishna is the Lord himself, but Arjuna is also a very highly elevated devotee. And he is, for that temporary moment, he loses his, his composure, and he suddenly gets confused. This is, like I told you in an earlier slide, it's just an arrangement of Krishna. Krishna wants that confusion to come in Arjuna so that he can speak the Bhagavad Gita in the battlefield, and which will be written by Vedavyasa, and which after 5,000 years, even now we are studying and gaining so much of information, and we are understanding what is the purpose of human life just by reading the Gita. Now, why transcendental conch? Sorry, I took so much time to explain. Because the conch which Krishna or Arjuna are blowing are not normal material conches. The sound itself is transcendental, meaning to say it is spiritual. It is related to the spirit. So we will, gradually see as we study Gita, there is something called material and spiritual. Material is related to this body, and spiritual or transcendental is related to our soul. So what we can hear and see with our material senses, there is something called spiritual senses also. The spirit soul is also having its own senses, but it is covered. Ours, we are so bound by this material world that it is covered. So that is in fact the reason why we can't see the Lord, because the Lord is transcendental. At that time, Krishna had appeared on the earth for so many reasons. We will see in chapter 4 when he says yada yada hi dharmasya, to establish dharma and to give us a Gita, and so many reasons. So the Lord comes himself. And why is the transcendental conch sound causing fear in Kauravas? Because Kauravas are in the wrong. They know in their heart of hearts that they are doing the wrong thing. Later on in one of the chapters, there's a beautiful question which Arjuna asks, why do people, even though they know that they are doing a wrong thing, why do they do it? This is because of, their predominant desires of their previous birth or this birth, because of the reactions of the different karmas, and that's why they are forced to do the wrong things. So, it's because of the predominant mode in them. If they're predominantly, in the mode of passion or ignorance, and if they're having desires which are so strong that it covers their sense of understanding between right and wrong, they will do the wrong thing. At the same time, they know That is why when they hear, suddenly when, Bhishma blows a conch on the Kaurava side, all of them blow. And then Pandava's side, when Krishna blows a conch, there's a fear in their heart. Suddenly they know in their heart of hearts that this is actually our doom. This is definitely, the dharma is going to win and we are not on the dharma side. And this is Dharma Kshetra. That is the reason why the transcendental conch, when they hear, the Kauravas are shivering. I hope I have made it clear. Everything I'm sharing with you based on my understanding of whatever my teachers have taught me and from the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. I hope I am able to clarify your doubt. Preeti Mataji, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Listening, Mataji.
Yes, it's clear. No, I have cleared your doubt.
Yes, Mataji. Clear.
Yeah.
Clear.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you,
Anybody
sir.
else has any other doubts? Or anything you want to share from the today's class? If you can tell me that am I too fast or am I too slow or anything else, please let me know. And it would be nice if you can also turn on your video sometime so I can also see you. At least, gradually in the further classes, I can see Dundappa Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. It's now almost time for the class to be over. So, and we have finished the class on time. Anybody would like to ask some questions, you can still, and you can also ask tomorrow. My only request is that you all please stay for the 18 days. 1 hour you give, it is, a great punya for me to discuss Gita and for you to listen and share with me. And it's a great opportunity for us to talk about the Bhagavad Gita. And these 18 days, please continue to be there somehow or the other. Make time for these 18 days to be here so that we can complete understanding all 18 chapters. And any suggestion you have, please let me know. Hare Krishna. I think I'll end the class today.
There
Yes.
is a suggestion from one of the participants.
Yes, Mata.
Ankur Maheshwari Prabhuji, he wants the caption of all the class going on, Zoom meeting.
Ankur Prabhuji, what does he want?
Captions, auto captions. When you speak, the captions comes down, English captions.
Okay, the captions. I don't know how to do that setting, but let me see when I will put this recording into YouTube, if I can turn on captions and you can see. During the class, I actually, I'll have to see how that is done, Prabhuji. I'll just see if it can be done. The captions.
Yeah, I think there is an option. If you have
Yes.
an administrative rights, you can enable the caption. It makes it easier because if you
Okay,
are
Prabhuji.
speaking faster, we
Where
can
will I
read it.
find that option, Prabhuji? I have to find out that because I have not done that before, Prabhuji. I'll just find out how to turn captions in the setting. But I have been asked not to tamper with the setting, but still I'll just see if I can do that, Prabhuji. Okay. So we'll end the class today. Please join me tomorrow, same time. Hare Krishna. At 6:30, we begin recitation of the chapters and some kirtan. And 7 o'clock, we will start chapter 2. It's a very important chapter. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.